CM Punk has made his return to All Elite Wrestling last night on the premiere episode of AEW Collision on TNT at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, and in his debut returning promo had a slight jab at the Young Bucks, which the Young Bucks have responded to. Details on that, plus an update on CM Punk winning his return match as he teamed with FTR to face off against old rival Samoa Joe, as well as Bullet Club Gold. The question is also, was Ace Steel backstage last night at Collision? Details on that, plus we have a brand new TNT champion. Luchasaurus has defeated Wardlow with some assistance from Christian Cage. Miro and Andrade made their return last night on AEW Collision. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs have declared their entry into the Owen Hart Cup Foundation tournament. Scorpio Sky, there was a vignette for him last night as he prepares to make his return to AEW programming. Tony Khan has dropped a big hint for Forbidden Door with possible ramifications for AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium later this year. Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale won the first women's division match during Collision last night, and Minoru Suzuki will be on AEW Dynamite this week, teaming up with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling, and the biggest one right now, of course, is the return of CM Punk, making his return last night on the premiere episode of AEW Collision on TNT. The premiere episode of AEW Collision on June 17 kicked off with the return of the former two-time AEW World Champion CM Punk. Punk received a thunderous reaction upon his appearance in front of the sold-out United Center crowd in Chicago. With his boots draped around his neck by the shoestrings, Punk also had a mysterious red bag to hand. To start, he made it known he doesn't care whether fans love or hate him, cheer or boo him. He's been called many things throughout his career. However, he feels like he's in a business full of counterfeit bucks. In fact, the full phrase and the full quote was, and I quote, "You know what David Zaslav calls me," which is the head of Warner Bros. Discovery. "One Bill Phil. That's because I am the one true, genuine article in a business full of counterfeit bucks." Of course, a very clear shot at Nick and Matt Jackson. Punk then lifted up the red bag and didn't physically reveal what was in it. Rather, he explained how the bag contained what he never lost, the AEW World Championship. Punk discussed how he earned it after beating MJF in a dog collar match prior to winning the title off of Hangman Adam Page and later Jon Moxley. To cap off his promo on how he earned the company's top prize, Punk stated, quote, "Tell me if I'm telling lies." Considering his comments, it appears that the former two-time AEW World Champion could soon be targeting MJF once again. Their feud initially ended when CM Punk won the dog collar match at AEW Revolution 2022. However, there were plans for it to resume after All Out. As it played out, MJF returned to storylines by winning the Casino ladder match on the same night that Punk tore his tricep in the process of winning his second AEW World title. Of course, MJF has held the title since Full Gear in November, whilst Punk recovered. So what were your thoughts on CM Punk's return promo? And what were your thoughts when it came to the line about the Young Bucks? We'll get to that in just a second, but let's talk about his return match as well, because CM Punk was victorious in his return to in-ring competition in All Elite Wrestling. CM Punk picked up the win in his return match in the main event of the first AEW Collision show on TNT. Punk, alongside FTR, came out on top of Switchblade Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Samoa Joe in trios action. The team dubbed CMFTR picked up the win after Punk hit the GTS on Robinson to secure the pin. During the match, Punk of course squared off with Samoa Joe, possibly setting up a program between the two which had been rumored to be Punk's first major rivalry upon his return. Back in 2004, the two engaged in an epic trilogy of matches for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Up until tonight, they hadn't actually been in the same ring since August 2005. It was also previously reported that Punk was interested in working with White, who he shared quite a bit of ring time with on Collision. The Collision main event marked Punk's first match since the main event of All Out, where he defeated Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Earlier in the night, Punk alluded to the fact that he never technically lost the title, whilst also throwing jabs at the Elite, particularly against the Young Bucks. Now, we do have a reaction from the Young Bucks to CM Punk's comments on AEW Collision, and this might be an indication of what the future is going to look like on AEW television, with both sides not being able to talk about what happened, both sides not being able to talk to each other, but jabs across across social media, because the Young Bucks' ever-changing Twitter bio has naturally updated in response to CM Punk's return promo from the debut episode of AEW Collision last night. The team's Twitter bio now reads, quote, "If it were 2018, we'd already have a Counterfeit Bucks t-shirt available on Pro Wrestling Tees. Kill it, y'all." Now, earlier in the evening on Collision, Punk opened up the show with a promo that marked his first AEW appearance since All Out of last year. In the promo, Punk claimed that Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav calls him One Bill Phil. He followed that comment up by saying that wrestling today is full of counterfeit bucks. The line from Punk, in conjunction with the Young Bucks' response, only serves to fuel further fan speculation on possible heat and a potential in-ring drama between the two sides following the aftermath of All Out. In a recent interview, Punk gave his perspective on the issues that have swirled around between him and the Elite, noting that he tried to reach out to them, but his efforts thus far have failed due to lawyers getting involved. So what are your thoughts on the Young Bucks' retort to CM Punk after his promo last night? Now, one of the hiccups regarding CM Punk's return to AEW was Ace Steel. Now, CM Punk and Ace Steel are back to work for AEW. However, the latter is not expected to be backstage anytime soon. In the wake of AEW Collision premiering on Saturday, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that Steel was not in attendance for the event in the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, despite the event being in his hometown. In fact, Steel signed to the company and is helping with Punk's storylines, but he's not expected to be at any AEW events in the near future. Steel previously served as a producer for AEW from March until September 2022 before the all-out locker room brawl that also involved CM Punk and the Elite. It's been reported that Steel bit Kenny Omega during the skirmish, which resulted in Steel temporarily being fired. At some point this year, Steel was said to have been rehired back to help in a creative capacity, but he has not been spotted backstage despite that. When Collision was announced in May, Punk was noticeably absent from the promotional materials for the show. It was then reported that there was a hang-up as it related to Steele's role in the company. Whatever the issue was, it appeared to be ironed out rather quickly as Tony Khan started promoting Punk's return on the May 31st episode of AEW Dynamite. Steel and Punk have a long history as friends, as the former has been credited as one of Punk's trainers. The 50-year-old previously wrestled for Ring of Honor and OVW prior to working as a WWE producer from 2019 until his release in early 2022. So again, Ace Steel is now back with AEW. Now, we also saw a title change last night on AEW Collision, and the TNT Championship once again in 2023 has changed hands. Following CM Punk's address to his hometown crowd in the United Center, the very first in-ring competition of AEW Collision commenced when Wardlow defended his TNT Championship against Luchasaurus. And though the dominant dinosaur was accompanied to the ring by Christian Cage as always, the maestro of the Powerbomb Symphony did not have his enforcer Arn Anderson at his side, which heavily factored into the outcome of the match. After the two titans spent the match trading massive blows, Jungle Boy Jack Perry's former best friend came out on top and captured the title from the three-time champion. It was a tainted victory, however, as Cage remained unchecked. While the referee was distracted, the Canadian legend took a camera from a ringside photographer and bludgeoned Wardlow in the head. Mr. Mayhem fell from the top rope where he had been perched, and Luchasaurus dealt the finishing blow to win his first ever singles title in AEW. Christian's meddling began long before the bell rang for last night's match. After Wardlow successfully defended his title against Jake Hager on AEW Rampage, the devious duo appeared on the Tron to send a brutal, bloody message to Wardlow, courtesy of a battered Anderson struggling at their feet. If the enforcer had been at ringside last night, things may possibly have been different. That wasn't the case, despite Anderson's own hopes, and a new champion has been crowned. So what are your thoughts on having a brand new TNT champion and once again the title changing hands this year? Several TNT title reigns, the title being very much hot potatoed around by Tony Khan at the moment. Now, last night we saw several returns to AEW programming. One is The Redeemer. Yes, The Redeemer is back. Miro won his return match against Tony Nese on the debut episode of AEW Collision. The match lasted less than 5 minutes and saw Miro squash Nese in quick and easy fashion. It also marked Miro's first appearance in a wrestling ring since All Out of last year, where he teamed with Darby Allin and Sting to take on the House of Black. Miro's AEW status has been something of a mystery since the end of his TNT Championship reign in 2021. Excluding his match against Nice last night, Miro wrestled a total of 6 matches after losing the title to Sammy Guevara. Previous reports indicated that there were disagreements between Miro and AEW over creative plans for the star, on top of him working through an injury during the tail end of 2021. Recently, Miro appeared in a surprise moment on AEW Dynamite in a backstage segment where he showed up to speak with AEW CEO Tony Khan. Prior to his return last night, he expressed his excitement to be back in the ring and in front of fans, admitting that it indeed sucked to be away. But he wasn't the only person who made their return last night. Another was Andrade El Idolo is back in All Elite Wrestling as well, and he's back with a little flair. See what I did there? That rhymes too. During the premiere episode of AEW Collision, El Idolo battled Buddy Matthews, not Buddy Murphy, as the ring announcer said, in their first televised singles match together. The bout was very physical as El Idolo nursed his left shoulder and Matthews clutched at one of his knees. In the end, El Idolo was able to trap Matthews in a figure 4 leg lock while Matthews reached for the bottom rope. El Idolo shifted it into the figure 8, paying homage to his wife, Charlotte Flair. Post-match, El Idolo went to offer Matthews a handshake when Malachi Black and Brody King appeared. Black laid El Idolo out, possibly renewing their 2017 and 2018 rivalry from WWE NXT. Andrade's last match was in September as he took part in the Casino ladder match at AEW All Out. After a reported backstage altercation with Sammy Guevara in October, Andrade disappeared from storylines. He later revealed in November that he underwent surgery to repair a torn pectoral muscle. When Collision was officially announced last month, Andrade was among the featured wrestlers advertised to appear on the brand, despite AEW not implementing a strict brand split. Andrade's wife Flair also recently returned to storylines on SmackDown. The two tied the knot in May 2022, which kicked off a lengthy hiatus for Flair. She then returned in December and held the SmackDown Women's Championship until WrestleMania 39, where she lost the gold to Rhea Ripley. She then took more time off until June 9th, where she made her return to television. Now, we've got some entrants into the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Cup Tournament. The debut episode of AEW Collision has been full of returns and surprises, on top of CM Punk's first appearance in an AEW ring in months, a massive title change, and a banger between Andrade El Idolo and Buddy Matthews. Absolute Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs have each made an announcement for All Elite Wrestling's upcoming tour of Canada, proclaiming their respective entry into the 2023 Owen Hart Cup. Back in April, Tony Khan announced that the Owen Hart Foundation Cup would be returning this summer. The tournaments, one for men, one for women, will take place in the Black Heart's home country and will feature the biggest names, or some of the biggest names, in AEW. Last year, Britt Baker and Adam Cole emerged as the winners, but now the stage is being set for the two new winners to reign supreme. And while we don't know the full field just yet, though Tony Khan has teased Jushin Thunder Liger's involvement, we now know that Starks is officially a participant courtesy of a video package on the company's newest show, while Powerhouse Hobbs' announcement took the form of a QTV exclusive with QT Marshall. Both Starks and Hobbs have come a long way since their Team Taz partnership alongside the Human Suplex Machine. They are the first two wrestlers to declare themselves for this year's Owen Hart Cup. So could both men potentially be in the finals as the two partners could face off? That's certainly a possibility. Now, we mentioned returns last night. Another is Scorpio Sky is making his way back to AEW programming. After almost a year, Scorpio Sky is back on AEW TV. The former AEW World Tag Team Champion and two-time TNT Champion was featured in a video package during the debut episode of Collision, following a match between Buddy Matthews and Andrade El Idolo, who was also making his return after a lengthy absence. Sky hasn't been seen since losing the TNT title to Wardlow, who, as it happened, lost the championship to Luchasaurus on Collision on July 6, 2022, nearly a full calendar year prior to Collision's debut broadcast on June 17. While he hadn't been officially announced for Collision, he was prominently featured in the show's marketing, leading to most fans to assume that he would be returning on the show. The reasons for Sky's absence remain unclear. He suffered an injury of undisclosed severity in June of last year, but he was reportedly healthy and cleared to compete at least as recently as November. Prior to being taken off of television, Sky had been part of the Men of the Year faction alongside Ethan Page and Dan Lambert. When that stable was removed from AEW's creative plans, it's possible the company simply didn't have anything for Sky, a situation that reportedly affected Miro, another of Collision's returning stars. Now, let's switch gears here and talk about Forbidden Door, because Tony Khan has hinted at some big plans for this year's pay-per-view. The next few months are shaping up to be big for AEW, with the second annual AEW New Japan Forbidden Door event set to take place next weekend in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Following Forbidden Door, AEW will begin the build to All In and its debut in the United Kingdom at Wembley Stadium at the end of August. Both shows have a lot of hype heading into them, and Tony Khan has teased we could see a major moment at All In to be set up at Forbidden Door next weekend. Speaking to John Pollock and Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, Khan said, quote, "I have a lot of really great ideas for it, and I like to see how things flow, and if Forbidden Door goes as planned, I think it will then lead us into what could be one of our all-time historic special moments for AEW All In. I think we're going to have a great Forbidden Door, and I'm very focused on that, and if we get through that, and that goes as I expect, then we are going to be in for an amazing position for AEW All In, and hopefully the brand interest will be incredibly high worldwide, and will focus itself into a very great event in London. But I'm very focused coming there to Toronto first and putting on a great one for you at Forbidden Door and building off that." So the question is, what does Tony Khan have planned? What's that big moment at Forbidden Door that could lead to an even bigger moment at AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium? Now, last night we saw Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale in action. It isn't just about CM Punk last night in Chicago at the debut of AEW Collision, as another Chicago native picked up a big victory. In the first women's division match on the debut episode of AEW Collision, Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue picked up the victory over Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. The 23-year-old Chicago native had her actual mother, Mama Blue, at ringside for a match against the AEW Women's World Champion Toni Storm and fellow outcast Ruby Soho. While Saraya did not make an appearance, the third outcast is always with Storm and Soho in spirit. In the hard-hitting and enjoyable match, the New Japan Strong Women's Champion Willow Nightingale got to show off her champion offense as well, but in the end, it was Blue who picked up the victory. Sky Blue captured the pinfall victory over Ruby Soho after Toni Storm inadvertently used the spray paint in her partner's eyes instead of hitting the intended target. Certainly a big victory for Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale. Finally, Minoru Suzuki is returning to AEW Dynamite. During the premiere episode of AEW Collision, it was announced that the New Japan Pro Wrestling star Minoru Suzuki will compete on Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite when he teams with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara to take on the trio of AR Fox, Action Andretti and Darius Martin. The timing is notable as it will be the final Dynamite before AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling present their second Forbidden Door pay-per-view in Toronto on Sunday, June 25th. Suzuki hasn't worked an AEW match since last year's Forbidden Door, where he actually teamed up with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara once more. Suzuki first appeared in AEW in September 2021, where he lost a Dynamite match to Jon Moxley. Since then, he's also battled Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe, while his only AEW singles win thus far was over QT Marshall. The former Ring of Honor World Television Champion may find himself competing at Forbidden Door once again. Just last week, Jericho crossed paths with Sting to set up a potential first-time in-ring encounter, considering Guevara and Darby Allin have recently been involved in the chase for the AEW World Championship. It stands to reason that Jericho, Guevara and Suzuki could be facing Sting, Allin and a partner of their choosing at the biggest cross-promotional event of the year. The June 21st episode of Dynamite will also feature Jeff Jarrett versus Mark Briscoe in a concession stand brawl, Taya Valkyrie versus Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship, as well as the Guns versus the Hardys and much more. So there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.